everyone. Welcome to those of you online. Welcome to those of you here in the sanctuary. Could it be a more gorgeous Shabbat morning in Seattle? I think not. I think not. And so we'll begin by just recognizing how good it is to be together among friends near and far. Hine Matov.
Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet anu gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet anu gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet anu gam yachad. Tov shevet anu gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet anu gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet anu gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet anu gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet anu gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet anu gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet anu gam yachad.
And how good it is. Bruchim habayim, blessings and welcome for joining us here at Temple Beth Am this Shabbat morning. I'm Rabbi Ruth Zlotnick, joined by Rabbi Dana Benson. We thank Alex for his amazing accompaniment, and we have a very special leader in our community joining us. Paige Ellingston will be called to Torah as B'nai Mitzvah this morning and sharing the Torah and wisdom of their souls. So we're grateful for that too. And I'll just invite you to maybe take a moment to create what Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel has called an island in time. Shabbat is really about us just letting go of perhaps the stresses of our everyday life and just existing fully in this moment right now. So we'll take a breath in and out, and feel that light all around us. We say Hine Matov because truly, at this moment in human history, how good it is to be in community together, celebrating Shabbat, our day when no matter what challenges may confront us, we take stock of all of our blessings, and we recognize that we ourselves are vessels for blessing. And in fact, the rabbis suggest that you say 100 blessings a day. I'm not sure if we'll get quite there, but I know that Danielle Price, a wonderful teacher and leader in our community, will give us a running head start on a few of them with our blessings for every day in our morning blessings. It's on page 80.
We continue with the Nisim B'chol Yom, our daily miracles. This series of blessings can help remind us of the small things that we may take for granted. We can use these blessings to add awareness to the many miracles in our lives. We will begin each line together, chanting in Hebrew, but please feel free to end each line in Hebrew or English, as is your choice. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasech vivina, Lahavin ben yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who lifts up the fallen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who strengthens our steps. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives strength to the weary. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir she'ena me'enai, utnuma me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who made me in the image of God. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shasani bat chorin. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me a Jew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Ozer Yisrael bigvura. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who crowns Israel with splendor. It is the tradition of Temple Beth Am to add one more blessing unique to your life. We will begin again with the first part in Hebrew, and then please add in the blessing or miracle that is important to you. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, for this beautiful spring day in February.
Amen. Oh, thank you so much, Danielle, for leading us in those blessings, helping to give us a sense, give us a sense of all those different things we can be grateful for on this Shabbat morning, including and not limited to the amazing things we learn from our students who are from our teachers, and our teachers sometimes are our students. It's a beautiful thing. And so we acknowledge this space where we are all together, teachers, students, friends, family, as we move into the call to worship, the words of Baruch Hu, acknowledging that we are here together as one community this Shabbat morning. The Baruch Hu can be found on page 108. If you are able, I invite you to rise. Since we've already shared, you may be seated, but since we've already shared about how beautiful it is to have this light this morning, it is my honor and pleasure to invite up a light in our community who will share with us a blessing about light. You can find the Yotzer Or on page 110.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzer or uvarei choshech, oseh shalom uvarei et hakol. Hameir la'aretz v'ladarim aliyah berachamim uvtuvo mechadesh bechol yom tamid maaseh v'reishit. Marabu maaseh ha Adonai kulam bechokma. Asita melah ha'aretz kinyanecha. Tit barach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, ve'al me'orei or sha'asita yefarucha selah, or hadash al tzion ta'ir, v'nizekeh kulanu ma'achara le'oro. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer ha'me'orot.
Amen. And Paige will continue to lead us in Ahava Rabbah on page 112.
Ahava Rabbah Avtanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chemla Gedola V'Tera, Chamalta Aleinu, V'avur Avoteinu, Shabbat chuvecha, Avoteinu ve'imotenu, V'telamdem chukei chaim, Ken techonenu lamdenu, Hamerachim, Hamerachim, Rachim aleinu, V'tein belibeinu lechavin ulhaskil, Lishmoa lilmodu lelamed, Lishmor velasot, Ulekayem et kol divrei Talmud Torah תורתך ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך ויחד לבבנו לאהבה וליראת שמך ולא נבוש ולא ניכלם ולא ניכשל לעולם ועד כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו נגילה ונשמחה בשורתך והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ ולא חיינו קוממיות לארצנו כי אל פועל ישועות אתה ובנו בחרת וקראת לשמך הגדול סלע סלע באמת להודות לך ויחדך ויחבה ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל ויאהבה.
Amen. Thank you so much, Paige, for leading us so beautifully. You can have a seat for a few moments. As we turn now to our declaration of monotheism, the Shema, the watchword of our faith, the words which Jews around the world know and say at this very time around the world as well. And so we join with our whole community as we share in these words of the Shema. I invite you to stand or sit, whatever is your custom. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. If you chose to stand, you may be seated. as I get to invite Paige back up to lead us on the following page, page 116, in the words of Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושינתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובדרכך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך ותחתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם
Adonai Elohechem emet Yasher Koach. Beautifully led. You can take another seat if you want. And we continue now on page 122 with the words of Mi Chamocha, the words that our ancestors sang as they went through that beautiful moment of the splitting sea, that prayer of freedom that I think embodies so much of what our students feel after the B'nai Mitzvah service is over, as I see many of your colleagues in the room, Paige. And so we turn to that song of freedom now, and I think all of us can really feel that freedom, especially with the sun, especially with that vitamin D flowing through us. So Mi Chamocha, page 122. Oh, dance. And with that energy and spirit, I think it is finally time to turn to the Amidah, that central component of our service leading us into that moment of the Torah service. The Amidah can be found on page 124. It is going to be led by Paige, and I invite you to rise if you are able.
Amidah, take 2.
Adonai sefer tivtach ufi agite chilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Vekoneh Hakol V'Socher Chesed, Avovim Mahot, Umevi'i Gemula Livnei V'nechem, Leman Shema'o B'Yachava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magger, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor, Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol, Atah Rav Lechoshia, Mashiv HaRuach, Umarid HaGashem, Mehalkel Hayim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim, Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishnei Alfar, Michamocha Baal Gevurot, Umidom Melech, Melech Memit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiya Yeshua, V'ne'emanata l'chalot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol.
The Amidah continues on page 130 with the Kedusha.
Elohim.
Oh, what was that again? I just want to turn around to the Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam keshem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom kakatuv al yad neviecha vekara ze el ze ve'amar kadosh 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 Adonai Sevaot Meloch ol haaretz kevodo Adir Adirenu Adonai Adonenu Ma'adir Shimcha B'chol haaretz Baruch kevod Adonai Mimkomo Echad hu Eloheinu Hu Avinu Hu Malkeinu Hu Moshiheinu Vehu Yashmienu ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. And now we continue with the Kedushat Hayom, which will be led by Paige, and that will be found on page 134.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu retzeh v'imnuchatenu kachenu b'mitzvotecha v'tein chalkenu v'toratecha sabinu mituvecha v'samchenu b'shuatecha v'tacher libenu le'avdecha bi'emet v'chavichenu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava uvratzon Shabbat kodecha Yehuva Yisrael Mekadesh Shemecha Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Thank you so much, Paige. And you may now just continue in your silent prayer, whether it be with the words on the page or the words of your own heart. We'll join back together in a few moments and be led out of silence in song. Whenever you feel as though your prayers are complete, feel free to be seated. We continue with words of Elohai Netzor.
So lovely. That's our congregational choir. And I was thinking, Stephanie and Andy, it must feel a little strange to see yourselves up there. But I love that setting of Elohai Nitzor. And now we come to our Seder Kriyat HaTorah, our service for reading Torah. This is the moment when we engage in the words that our ancestors received millennia ago, and we keep those words alive through the generations. It's a particularly sweet moment for individual families because it's when a young person gets called to Torah. But we believe that this isn't just a personal family experience, but that this is one we as a congregation celebrate in as we pass on our tradition to the next generation. So it's become our custom to invite a beloved member of our community. In this case, it's Ronnie Scher, who is a member of our board of directors, as well as our Shamash Gadol, our most menschy and highest shamash, who will share a few words of blessing about this moment of congregational love towards the next generation.
We thank God for the gift of Torah and for a wondrous opportunity to share it with a new generation. Today, you ensure the continuation of the legacy of Moses and Miriam, who first taught Torah to our people. As we prepare to hand the Torah to you now, it is our hope that just as you will carry it in your hands today, you will carry it within your heart always as a perpetual expression of faith in God and commitment to your people.
And so now, Paige, the time has come when you find that we are placing the next link in the chain of tradition as we as a community engage in the words of Torah. If you'd like to follow along, the blessings for the Torah service begin on page 244. And it is an honor now to call up to the Bima the generations that precede Paige, Ellen and John Langston, Paige's grandparents, and we say hello to Jennifer Ellingston, who is watching from afar, as well as Paige's mom and dad, Danielle and Damon. We invite you to rise in body or spirit.
Ein kemocha va'Elohim Adonai ve'ein kema'asecha malchutcha malchut kol olamim u'memshaltecha bechol dor v'dor Adonai
Paige, we talked about this moment, did we not? Here we are in front of our community, whether present or afar, at the foot of a mountain. At least that's what tradition teaches us, that this moment is like that moment at Mount Sinai when all was silent, and yet a voice came across through time and space to present this Torah to our ancestors. We've been taught that the words within this Torah are paths to peace, and so it was, door the door. From generation to generation, this Torah has been passed during times of struggle and during times of joy, until this moment now, Paige, when from the arms of your grandparents into the arms of your parents, we place this Torah. We give it to you with the same love and faith with which it was given to our ancestors. And know when the time comes, Paige, you're going to pass this Torah on to the next generation with the same love and faith with which we give it to you now. And we thank Persephone because we're going to undress Torah.
Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omer, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omer, al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut hasadim, al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut hasadim.
There we go. I want to say thank you to Persephone because that was like the most professional Torah undressing that I've had in a very long time, so thank you. And so we have Torah before us. It's the Torah portion is named Tetzaveh, and it actually talks a lot about this idea of what obligations are. And before we engage in hearing Torah based on the chanting itself, we're so blessed to have Paige share a few words of Torah with the Devar Torah of Parshat Tetzaveh.
In our society today, most people would probably say they are free to choose what they wear for themselves without restrictions. But if you think about it more carefully, there actually are restrictions. They just might not be that obvious. In contrast, in biblical times, the restrictions were more clear, especially for the high priest. Today's Torah portion is Tetzaveh, which is found in the book of Exodus. It takes place soon after the Israelites left Egypt, when Moses' brother Aaron was made high priest and his sons and their descendants priests. The Torah portion describes the ceremonies and clothing required for Aaron and his sons when they carried out their duties as priests. Among other things, the text focuses on what the high priest must wear, including details such as specific materials, colors, and where the clothing is worn on the body. When I first read this parsha, I was taken aback by the excruciating level of detail. For example, the Torah specifies that a garment called an ephod must be made of gold, blue, purple, and crimson yarns with fine twisted linen worked into the designs. Also, it goes further, describing the engravings on 2 lazuli stones to be attached to the shoulder pieces of the ephod. On these stones, the names of the sons of Israel are to be engraved, 6 on one stone and 6 on the other stone, in the order of their birth, bordered with frames of gold. The engravings ensure that Aaron and the high priests follow him and will remember the Israelite people. The parsha goes on to describe in similar detail the colors and materials for other garments and their adornments worn by the priests. I won't trouble you with those details. It is not hard to imagine why the priests needed such beautiful and well-made garments. They added to the priests' authority as spiritual leaders among the people, and they probably also helped the priests feel the importance of their work when they wear these special clothes. According to biblical scholar Beth Am, the priests are set apart from the rest of the people by dedication to the service of God, by their consecration to a distinctive way of life that gives expression to this intimate involvement with the divine through special duties and restrictions and by obligation to serve the people. In our society today, there are many activities that we need to dress appropriately for, and some people have roles, like the high priests, that require more elaborate clothing. For instance, if you were getting ready to meet with the president, you wouldn't dress like you were about to binge watch K-dramas in your basement. Sometimes people do not get to choose what clothing they wear, as it is chosen for them, like a school uniform or a work dress code. And like high priests, some people wear uniforms that include symbols meant to convey the importance of their work, such as police officers and nurses. People use clothing to express their personal style and mood on a particular day, but also their status. People who dress with the same style often gravitate towards each other, maybe because they sense that outward appearances indicate deeper similarities. After hearing this Torah portion, I hope you see that our current society has some things in common with that of the Torah. Our clothing and other adornments, like in the Torah, send messages about who we are, what work we do, and our role in society. We no longer have the specific colors and materials worn by certain people laid out in law, but our customs still govern how we represent ourselves.
Yasher koach. Thank you so much. So for those of you who may not be aware, we say Yasher koach as a way of saying continue forward with strength, because what a strong and important message. We thank you so much. You have about 30 seconds to take that sip of water while we get everything set up here. Because now, after having heard Paige's beautiful Torah of their soul, now the time has come to hear the words of Torah chanted by Paige. And Paige will begin on chapter 27, verse 20 of the book of Exodus. It's on page 618. If you have the Plout commentary with you, those of you in the sanctuary have that, and maybe some of you at home. But if you're watching from home, there's also an ability to click onto the link for Sepharia Exodus 27, verse 20. Those will be the first verses that Paige will read. And if you'll just hand me that, Rabbi Dana, there we go. Now, it's an honor to invite two people that I think you know, your mom and your aunt, Paige. Have you met them before? So it's an honor to invite Danielle Erlingston and Samantha Langton to come forward.
Ta'amodna Hana Rachel bat Edgar Reisel, Vesimcha Freda bat Edgar Reisel, Le'aliyah Rishonah.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Ve'ata tetzaveh et bnei Yisrael vayikhu elecha shemen zayit zach katit lamaor laha'alot ner tamid be'ohel moed michutz laparochet asher al hayedut yaroch oto aharon uvanav me'erev ad boker livnei Adonai kukat olam ledorotam me'et b'nei Yisrael ve'ata hakerev elecha et Aharon achicha ve'et banav ito mitoch b'nei Yisrael lecha chanoli Aharon Nadav v'Avihu Elazar ve'itamar b'nei Aharon va'asu bigdei kodesh le'Aharon achicha lechavod ultifaret v'chem yikhu ve'ata tetzaveh el kol chachmei lev asher miletiv ruach chachma va'asu et bigdei Aharon lekodsho lechahanoli.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
And so we'll invite you to have a seat as we invite Damon up so that your mother and father can both stand by your side, Paige Ellingston, as we call you to Torah for the very first time as B'nai Torah.
Ya'amodna Hakol havugo del Eloheinu tnu kavod leTorah Ya'amodna habnei mitzvah Shifra mi beit Chana Rachael le'aliyah shniya.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Ve'ele habegadim asher ya'asu choshen ve'efod ume'il Chetonet tashbetz meets nefet veyavnet va'asuv igdei kodesh le'acharon achicha ulevanav lecha hanoli v'chem yikchu et hazahav v'yet hatechelet v'yet ha'argaman v'yet tola'at hashani v'yet hashesh va'asu et ha'ephod zahav techelet ve'argaman tola'at shani v'shesh mashsar v'cheshev av Shetei chatefot chorot yelo el shnei ketzotav vehu bar v'cheshev afudato asher alav kema'asehu mimenu yeh zahav techelet ve'argaman v'tolat shani v'shesh marsar.
So you want to do the blessing after?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And as we've been saying all day, you can certainly take a deep breath because that was just beautiful. And what a blessing you've been to us this morning, Paige. But I know for your father and for your mother, you've been a blessing from the moment you were born. And so with the Torah open wide before us, our most sacred document, they'd like to offer some words of blessing to you.
A child who knows the meaning of love is a rare gift. Your job in life is to share that gift. As you grow older, you'll find the world has many lessons to teach you, and you have many lessons to teach the world. Just remember that you come from love, that you have love inside you, and that you, Paige Odette Ellingston, have the power to give that love back to others.
Paige, we gave you the Hebrew name Shifra after your great-grandmother, who was my grandmother Sophie. Shifra, from the Torah, was one of the midwives in Egypt who saved Moses by defying Pharaoh's order to slay all of the male Hebrew babies. It turns out that we named you well because, like Shifra from the Torah, you are courageous. You seek the truth and what is right. And once you know, you speak up when others might stay silent. We have seen you speak up for peers who you believe are treated unjustly. And we have seen you question people in authority, even teachers and even your parents, because you want to make things better. But like Shifra the midwife, you are wise, and you know when it's better to speak with your actions rather than your voice. You have a kind heart, and you care about the world as much as you do about the people you love. Paige, may your wisdom and your courage continue to grow. We love you, and we're always proud of you.
Amen.
Amen.
You can choose how you want to say amen as a family to that. Amen. And so we say amen. And you can have a seat, and you can have a seat. What beautiful words of blessing. Really, it's always moving when we hear the blessings of a parent to a child, but it is also meaningful when we are here together as a community to share the blessings of a caring community, because we know there are some among us who are in pain and in need of healing. And so I'll invite you, if you're watching from online, just to include in the chat anyone who you'd like to include in our prayer for healing. And I'll invite you who are here in the sanctuary, if you'd like to share out loud the name of anyone. With everyone we've said out loud and everyone that we hold in our hearts, we also think of those impacted by the COVID pandemic, those who have been harmed at the hands of injustice of all sorts. With all of those in our hearts and minds, we continue with our Misha Berach. For healing, it's on page 253.
And let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
The time has come to lift and dress the Torah, and I realize, Danielle, that's why you can't run out, but if someone could go and get Jessamine to let her know. Yes, Ronnie, because actually we need you too, Samantha, because we need Danielle and Samantha and Persephone to come on up and join us on the bima. We're about to lift and dress Torah. And so the blessings are on page 252. It's an honor to call back Danielle and Samantha as we invite you to rise in body or in spirit.
Vezot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. Yai dai da dai dai dai, yai dai da dai dai dai, yai dai da dai 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 dai, yai dai dai.
welcome. Thank you. Please be seated. We have a whole family who I think we will just hire you to help us with all the honors each week. So wonderful. Now we turn to the Haftarah, the additional words of our ancestors that we read. They're usually from the central section of the Bible known as Nevi'im, or the prophets. This week we're reading from the prophet Ezekiel. In this week's Torah portion, as Paige shared, this is in many ways a really funky Torah portion because it has all of these amazing aspects of the ancient rituals, including the dress of the high priest and including rituals around incense. And that's something that the prophet Ezekiel picks up on many, many centuries later. And that's what Paige is going to be reading from. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 43, verses 25 and 26. And that is on page 721 of your Plout commentary. If you're playing along at home, that'll be Ezekiel 43, verse 25, and your Sepharia link. The blessings before and after Haftarah are on page 254. And so it's an honor to invite Paige back as they will bring Haftarah to our community this morning. Yep, it's then. Yep,
wonderful. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratzah v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'invi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Shivat Yamim Ta'aseh Siratat Layom Ufar Ben Bakar Ve'ayil Min Hatzon Temimim Ya'asu Shivat Yamim Yechabru et hamizbeach v'tiharu oto umileu yadav. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol holamim tzadik bechol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'yoseh hamdaber umkayem sher kol devarav emet v'tzedek al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'nevi'im ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha lechavod ultifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umbarchim otach yitbarach shimcha befi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Wow. Don't go anywhere, my friend. Wow, that was just so fantastic. And Paige, we are blessed, Rabbi Dana and I, to give you a moment, first of all, to do what we've been doing all morning long. Take a nice deep breath. You could even sigh if you want, because you've really earned it. And that way, the feedback can just cover the sighs. And so Paige, I feel like there isn't much more to add from your parents' amazing blessing of you, because everything that you described is the individual that we've encountered. For us to have you as our student is indeed what Rabbi Dana made reference. You've also been our teacher. The way in which you've approached this experience to make it as meaningful as possible, but as relevant as possible, has been nothing less than inspiring for us, your rabbis. And then to watch you use this experience of recognizing through your Torah text that appearances may or may not reveal what is within, and to use this B'nai Mitzvah process as a transformation process has been an amazing role modeling of how we live and embody our Jewish values moving forward. So I feel I don't need to say to you what I say to many of my students that I learned from one of my teachers, that becoming B'nai Mitzvah isn't an event. It's not something that's just happening this morning, but that you will represent the Jewish tradition. You will embody what it means to be B'nai Mitzvah each and every day as you move forward. You are a blessing in this world, and we need the blessings and the wisdom and the values that you bring into it. And so it is our incredible honor to offer to you the oldest words of blessing in the tradition that you are now representing, the priestly benediction. Paige, may God bless and keep you always.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha.
And that may the spark of the divine that shines within you shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
And as you move forth on your journey as B'nai Mitzvah, may you feel the presence of the Holy One always be with you, and may you always be blessed with peace. And let us say, Amen. And so I invite you now to please rise as we continue with the Aleinu L'Shabeach. It is on page 282.
It is on the top of the page. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tet gedula le'otzeh bereshit, shehu noteh shamayim vayosed haaretz, u'moshav yekaro v'shamayim mima'al, u'shchinat uzo begofei meromim, hu Eloheinu Einod, va'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim, u'modim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai, l'melech al kol ha'aretz, vayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. Our thoughts turn now to those who have died in the weeks that have passed or in seasons that have passed. We take this moment because no gathering of community is complete without a moment of memory. And in fact, on this special Shabbat morning, Paige's family would like to remember Agnes Burke. In addition, we as a community are remembering Gerald Blower, mother of Janice Blower Chima, who was buried yesterday. And there will be a memorial service that in Portland that our community can participate in. And if you go to Temple Beth Israel in Portland, you'll receive information regarding that. We also are remembering at this time these members of our Temple Beth Am family who have died. Philip Culbertson, father of Katie and Jacob, father-in-law of Jim, brother of Robert, brother-in-law of Carol, grandfather of Gwendolyn, Harrison, Teo, and Miguel. Elton Stanley Lipnick, father of Amy, father-in-law of Miles, grandfather to Eleanor and Charlie. Elaine Shapiro, mother of Robin, mother-in-law of Michael and grandmother of Mara and Ben, and Gilbert Graydengert, father of Lori. We also remember at this time these loved ones whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of their death, falls at this time. Albert Appalter, Joan Dickinson, Rose Alterman, Lori Bogich, Vera Bomps, Mary Buchanan, Fran Calderon, Harriet Cohn, Joseph Cohn, Philip Krasnopol, Leo Frischer, Robert Goldberg, Jean Goldberg, Alvin Goldman, Ruth Gulkis, Sidney Held, Leona Hoyt, Walter Isaacson, Oliver Cowra, Faye Kraft, Mimi Levine, Mayor Levine, Seymour Levine, Edward Littman, Mort Luster, Ernst Magnus, Frank Pania, Floyd Reichman, Sylvia Rosen, Joyce Rudy, Ed Sherman, Joyce Shikiar, Betty Scher, Marvin Steingart, Marcia Teicher. We also include all those who have died from COVID-19 as the toll keeps rising, even as we hope we're moving to a different stage of this pandemic. And we also think of those who died because of injustice of all kinds. In addition, I'd like to invite you to share in the chat anyone that you'd like to include. And if there's anyone who is here in the sanctuary who would like to add the name of someone, I invite you to please do so now. If you've lost a loved one in the last week or the last month, I invite you to please rise. Or if you've lost a loved one in the last year, or if you're here remembering a yahrzeit. And then as one community, let's rise in body or spirit to remember the ones who have come before us. The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 294. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divra chirute v'amlik malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye dekol Beit Yisrael, Bagala ubizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mivrach leolam almei almaya. Yit barak v'yish tabak v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh. V'yit hadar v'yit halev v'yit halal shmei dekudashabrechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechamata. Damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. Zikronam livracha, may their memories be an enduring blessing. Amen. And please be seated. It is now an honor here we go. So it's an honor to invite TJ Stutman, who is here for many reasons, I'm sure, this morning, but here on the Bima, representing the board of directors, our wonderful treasurer, as well as an all-around mensch.
Why, thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Well, I am honored to be here. I did not expect that I would be called up to the Bima, but it's an honor, it's a privilege. I've been really privileged to be close friends with the Ellingston family, and it's just a real privilege for me to be up here and to wish you Mazel Tov. Paige, you've done fantastic. On behalf of the board of directors and the whole community, I just want to thank you for everything that you've done, going through this process, entering Jewish adulthood. You have done a magnificent job of leading the service this morning. Nobody thinks that it's easy to put in the amount of work that you've put in. Mazel Tov to you, Mazel Tov to your family. To honor this moment and to help encourage your Jewish ritual life, we do have a few gifts. We have a Kiddush cup to celebrate Shabbat. Oh, okay. We also have a book of blessings to help add deeper meaning to the world around you. So on the occasion of the B'nai Mitzvah, I just find it very important and meaningful to remember this is the moment where you enter Jewish adulthood. And we welcome you to the community. We welcome you to join the Jewish community and look for ways that you can add your own individual strengths to the larger community. And we're just very blessed to have you enter Jewish adulthood and be able to grow with you. And so we look forward to joining in your Jewish future. Temple Beth Am is very excited to be a part of your journey, and you continue to grow and inspire us. So thank you, Paige.
Thank you so much, TJ. We thank you, TJ. We thank all of the participants in this morning's service, including Ronnie Scher, who has also been, oh no, Allison is our shamash this morning. We thank you, Allison. We thank you, and we can show our gratitude by bringing our prayer books back to the cart outside. That's really the main point. We want to thank Alex Chadsey for accompaniment, and of course, Paige Ellingston for their leadership, and my partner in prayer, Rabbi Dana Benson. So we're so grateful that you all are here. And I will just say, we've tried to stop doing announcements, but there's one announcement that we just have to make, which is in 2 weeks, we're going to have I was going to say the bluest Jewgrass music, and that's not completely bad, right? The Jewish bluegrass band, Nefesh Mountain, who are amazing, and really it is the definition of American Jewish soul music. We'll be leading services with my rabbinic colleagues and I, and that's open to anyone. We encourage everyone to join us. But first, I think what we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to start with the Kiddush and Motzi. And Paige is going to lead the Kiddush, and it's actually just that one liner at the beginning. Whoops.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafen.
L'chaim. And now, on behalf of all of us, we will say the Hamotzi. Anyone who is here is welcome to join us. We have begun Kiddush lunches again, and how wonderful it is to celebrate and break bread together on Shabbat. We hope if you're at home, you're having a wonderful Shabbat lunch, and let's consider this motzi working for you too. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon.
And so as part of the experience of B'nai Mitzvah, our students help us to choose what music is going to accompany the service. And there was a very special request made for this Shabbat. We're going to sing together on page 321 the words of Adon Olam with a little bit of a twist to Hamilton. עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, עושה שלום, עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל יושבי תבל. אדון העולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר יציר נברא, ועת נעשה בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי יכלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה ותפארה. והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשי לתכלית ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, בצור הבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא. אדון העולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר יציר נברא, לעת נעשה בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, בידו אפקיד רוחי ותישן בהעירה, ועם רוחי גביעתי אדוני לי, ולא אירא. ידה דה דה דה, ידה דה 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 דה, ידה דה דה דה, yada da da da, yada da 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 da, yada da. Everybody, yada da da da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da da da, yada da 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 da, yada da da. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, one and all.